In this video, we'll have a look at the electrical conduction system of the heart. So let's start with some of the basics. Now, when we're looking at the first part, we're dealing with the sinoatrial node. Sinoatrial node located at the posterior part of the right atrium, right near the junction of the superior vena cava. Now, this is a group of cells that do not have a stable resting membrane potential. What happens is once they depolarize, repolarize, they are going to start to leak ions. So we're going to have sodium channels that will leak sodium in until it hits the point of a threshold and it'll depolarize. And cells in this SA node will just keep doing this over and over. Now, typically the SA node wants to fire somewhere between 60 and 100 beats per minute, but under most conditions, this is being modified by things such as the vagus nerve and the parasympathetic stimulation that comes down from there. So when the SA node does fire, if you remember the structure of the myocardial cells, the intercalated discs have gap junctions. The signal will spread from cell to cell to cell throughout the atria, and that will start the depolarization and the contraction of the atria. Now, there are three pathways that will help to get the signal from the SA node to the next node, which is the AV node. And let's have a quick look. So we have three pathways, 1, 2, 3. The first is the anterior internodal pathway. The second one is the middle internodal pathway. And the third one is the posterior internodal. And in theory, these help to get the signal to the AV node. It's a little debated, is that the signal can also spread cell to cell to cell and get down there. Now, how long does this take? It takes about 50 milliseconds for the atria to have the contraction spread throughout them. Now, that is the right atrium. How about the left atrium? Well, the left atrium contracts almost simultaneously, and we do have a structure called Bachmans bundle, and that helps to get the signal over to the left atrium. Now that the signal's made it down to the AV node, the structure of the AV node is a little bit different than the SA node. The cells are smaller, slightly different structure, and they don't conduct the signal as quickly. And what this allows for is we end up with about 100 millisecond delay at the AV. And this delay here at the AV is very important because it buys us enough time that we can get proper ventricular filling. Because if the ventricles contracted too quickly, we haven't had time to fill them. Now, once the signal gets through the AV, it will spread down through the AV bundle. Now, the bundle gets into the interventricular septum, and it's going to break into the right and the left bundle branches. So we have the right bundle branch, and we have the left bundle branch. And as we head down, you can see the fibers will be distributed throughout the myocardium. There's another structure we should have a look at, and that is the moderator band. The moderator band helps to bring the signal to the papillary muscle, probably just a fraction of a second before the myocardium contracts. And the reason that it's thought this occurs is because the papillary muscle have the chordae tendae attached to them, and the chordae tendae attached to the flaps of the valve. And this helps to take out some of the tension or some of the slack, I should say, that would be in the chordae tendae, because once the ventricle starts to contract and pressure builds up, that's what causes the valves to close between the atrium and the ventricle. And of course, the chordae tendae are there to make sure that under this great pressure, the valves do not evert and flip the other way. So by taking the slack out just before the big contraction of the ventricle, this probably helps to protect the valves and keeps them in their proper position. So that's a quick overview of the structures. We have the SA node, the AV node, We have the internodal pathways, and we also have things like the moderator band. Now, there is one more very important thing we have to talk about. And the question you may have in your mind is, why do I need this AV node? Because you would think the signal could just carry all the way down here. And that is because there's a structure that I'm going to put in here. And this is part of the fiber skeleton. And the fiber skeleton we find throughout the myocardium. It helps the myocardial cells give something to anchor on so they can pull. We find the fiber skeleton around the different valves. And we also find this band of fiber skeleton that acts as an electrical insulator between the atria and the ventricles, so the signal cannot go directly down. So it acts as a barrier, basically, for that signal to head down here. So those are the major parts of the electrical conduction system. And there are some other videos out there about the general anatomy of the heart that I put together. So if you're not sure of all the valves and all the different structures, please check out that video. Thank you very much.